Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel if you've been here before. If you are new here, welcome, we're glad to have you. Today we're going to be in the kitchen and we're going to be cooking up, oddly, one of my own unique recipes. I don't do those often. I normally stick to the classics, the traditional stuff, the kind of, old stuff. But this is one that I've taken from a combination of a few different things that I've tried, and I think it's going to be good. Stick with me, see if it is. Alright, so what I'm going to do this morning is I'm going to make a shrimp pie, basically. And whenever I do say pie, I mean the same kind of like the Natchitoches meat pies that I did before. A handheld pie, or I know what a lot of the British would call a pasty of some kind. So I'm going to basically make up some Cajun shrimp, add in some ingredients to that, and then I'm going to puree all of that down into a filling, wrap that in pastry, and cook them up and see how they turn out. So I'm going to go ahead and get the stove heated up and we'll get started. Alright, so we've got our pan on and hot. First thing we're going to do is add just a bit of butter. And we're going to throw in with that some chopped red onions. And before we add anything else, we're going to let that start to go a bit translucent. I'll give that a couple minutes and I'll show you where we're going next. Alright, so we've given those onions a few minutes to start sweating off. You can see that they have released quite a bit of water as well. That's because obviously I started with the frozen ones. That's fine. The liquid's probably going to help us out when we're adding some more of our stuff later on. And if you use fresh onions, I might even suggest adding a splash of water in there, just because it's going to help everything else as we go. Next up, we're adding our prawns. We are not adding a piece of absorbent stuff that comes with the prawns. As much as it wants to be in there, we're not including it. I mean, I'll cook a lot of things, but I'm not going quite that far yet. Okay, now that we've got our prawns in there, we're going to throw in some Old Bay. That's our seafood. Well, it's really for about a bit of everything, but it's a very nice seasoning. It's a good initial start for a lot of things. We're going to throw in some extra garlic. I'll open the other side because it works a bit better. Almost out of garlic. I'm going to have to get some more soon. And I'm going to add some cayenne. I'm going to stir those in, and then from the sound of the dogs, I'm going to go answer the door, and I'll be right back with you guys. Alright, so we've got this cooking off now, smelling gorgeous. I haven't shown it, but I've also just off to the side taken some peas and carrots and just thrown them in some boiling water so that they will start to cook off slightly. They don't actually need to fully cook because, bear in mind, this is all going to go into a pie and then be cooked again. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this off the heat and I'm going to just let it cool a bit before we move on to our next steps. So I'll be back with you once this has cooled down. Hey y'all, just a quick pop in while I'm doing some editing on some videos here to remind you that if you are interested in the recipes that I am posting on the channel, I am now posting those to a Patreon. The link is below in the description. So for $1 a month, you can go on there, you can get all the recipes, you can chat with other people on there. I'll make sure that I do respond on there. Also, if you're interested in the tools that I'm using on the channel, those are also all down below. You can get those on Amazon, no extra cost to you, but it does mean that you are supporting the channel. And by all means, I do say often, barbecue's expensive, guys, so I do appreciate any and all support you guys can give. Thank you again, and I'll let you get back to the video now. All right, hello there. I'm back. Everything's cooled down, and it's time to use our Ninja food processor. Now, obviously, I think I mentioned to you guys before, but you can pick up one of these in my description below if you want one. It doesn't cost you any more money, helps the channel out, appreciated greatly. It is a very useful, very handy bit of kit. I'm going to go ahead and pour all of this in there now. Next up, we're going to add a bit of mayo. Shrimp mayo, obviously, is a fairly common thing. It works well. It's going to add some nice creaminess to this. It's also going to add some thickness. I'm going to go ahead and finish off this bottle. Go. And I'm actually going to, just for getting the thickness right, I'm going to add just the slightest bit of flour. Now, I can already hear you typing in the comments about this not being cooked off and tasting floury and etc, etc, etc. Remember though, that we are going to be putting these in pastry, and then we are going to be cooking them in that pastry. So that will get cooked off. Do not have a worry about it. I'm going to go ahead though and be quiet for a minute, give you guys a bit of music, because as good as this thing is, it's not quiet. Alright, so I went ahead and took the blade out of this once we had finished. I'm going to add that peas and corn that I talked about earlier. It's just going to add a nice bit of extra to these. Stir that in for us. And once that's done, I'm going to go get the pastry ready. And I'll show you how we're going to make them up. So I've got us some nice pre-rolled short crust pastry. I prefer to use the pre-rolled stuff just because, well, it's a million times easier and about 5 times as good as what I normally make. It is being very sticky today though, which is frustrating. Everything likes to misbehave on camera. And it's really giving me a hard time today. Normally this just rolls straight out. camera shy pastry. What have you ever heard of? Alright. We got there in the end. And I'm just now going to try to figure out how big I'm going to make these things. So if I was to do that, that's going to let me basically make 2 triangles there. And yes, I am figuring this out as I go. I'll do the same again there. That's going to give me 4 of these. And then that last one is a bit small to do that with, so that will be a leftovers / tester piece that we will mess with later on. And as you can see, my very precise measuring method here is not. I'm basically using the geometry of the pastry itself as my measuring guide rather than any actual numbers or measurements. There we go. So we've got 4 squares that will turn into 4 triangles once we stuff them. I'm going to take some of our shrimp paste, throw it in there like so. And then we're going to fold and tuck. And make a mess, because, well, have I ever made a video where I didn't make a mess? If you've seen one of my videos where I did not make a mess, I assure you, I, for some reason, edited it out, because I don't think there's actually been one. Fold and make a mess again. Oh boy. Tuck that down like so. I'm going to go ahead and make 2 more of those, and then we'll fry them off. Alright, now everybody knows that if I was your standard British person, I would then throw these pies in an oven. Of course I would. But I'm not. So, into a shallow fry they're going to go. Probably could have let that oil get a little bit hotter, but it'll be fine. It is bubbling. I'll cook these off, and I'll let you guys see the results in just a few minutes. Right, and there we have it. We've got 4 shrimp pies, one missing its tip because I flipped it poorly, and one oddly shaped spare at the end. I think they've turned out fairly nice. Obviously, I got a couple of them a bit darker than the others, but that's really a matter of preference and how much attention I was paying at the time. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and cut into one and give it a try. Alright, let's give it a go. Now, bear in mind, like I said, I've never tasted these before myself, so who knows? I think I needed a little bit more filling and maybe a little bit thicker filling, a little bit more flour. And on the back of the throat, and I don't say this often, maybe a little bit less cayenne. Not because it's too hot, but because it's out of balance with the shrimp. But I definitely think there's something there. If you try making these, tone down on the cayenne, add the flour a bit earlier, add a bit more of it, and let me know how it turns out for you. I'm curious what people think about these and what people can do with them. In the meantime, I'm going to go share some of this out with my family and get some more opinions. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.